Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be doing a part 2 to my previous video, Criminal Minds What to Do Next. In this video I will specifically be talking about storylines that I want to see happening and what I think they can do over a 10 episode series to make it interesting. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you and keep watching. I'm going to tell you a few ideas that I have that I think would make the reboot better than the original. The final episode of the original series ended in February 2020 and they announced the reboot 1 year later, February 2021. As far as I know from the research that I have done, all of the actors from the final season will be reprising their roles and they haven't mentioned any of the actors from any of the previous seasons. It will be 10 episodes long with only 1 or 2 serial killers for the whole season. To get fans of the show to be really excited for the reboot, I think one thing they need to do is bring back Hotch. A lot of the fans missed Hotch. I believe the show itself missed Hotch. And I think if they bring him back, they can create an interesting storyline around where he's been and what he's been up to while he's been away. Just imagine if season 16 went a little like this, with the President of the United States of America giving a speech and then all of a sudden he's shot in the head. The camera then goes to Hotch's face, who's standing behind him, and he's in complete disarray, doesn't know what's happening. Then suddenly all of the BAU have been woken up out of their sleep. They all go to Quantico and find out that Hotch has been somewhat undercover in the president's team for years because they found out that there was a plot to assassinate him and take over the presidentship or something like that. And now it's too late because the plans have been set into motion and it's all small terrorist attacks that happen across America. The BAU have to find out when the attack is happening, stop it, and all of these attacks are happening across, bombings, maybe shootings, and they have to sort of stop all of those people, but it's all connected to a bigger terrorist cell that has killed the president and looking to cause disruption, dysfunction across the United States. For me, a story like that or similar to that is a great way to bring Hotch back, a great way to explain what he's been up to, and it's also an amazing way for 10 episodes, There's one terror cell but small terrorists around. They have to travel from city to city to stop these terrorists. It gives you time on the floor for the subplots, between the main characters. And not only that, because it is a huge threat, obviously terrorism around the United States, it's a great reason to bring back Garcia. It's also a great way to recruit new team members, so make the team bigger, because there are imminent threats that can happen in any city. The team obviously has to expand, which means new cast members, a bigger team, better subplots. These new characters have got to be interesting. As much as I like that the old team are all friends and all of that, I would also prefer these new characters to be a bit messy, a bit toxic, maybe relationships, dislikes, arguments between each other. Just give us something more than just friendships and high school liking like Reed and JJ, So with a new group, new characters, new dynamics, we can maybe finally see what the group would be like if they started into dating, maybe cheating, maybe, stuff like that. So with the domestic terrorists, if they solve that incident, people died, they find out who's behind it, they're arrested. It would be amazing if one of the new team members of the BAU is actually a member of a terrorist cell, and season 2 will be about what that team member is up to and how he's trying to sabotage the BAU and the FBI. Also, at the end of the season, Hotch and Garcia realise that they've missed the team and working for the BAU so much that they come back. And because the BAU has expanded, maybe they do really, really well that the government give them extra funding, Hotch becomes the leader of a separate team. So there's now 2 BAUs, but they work together on most cases. So this B team will bring fresh dynamics, fresh people, fresh characters, fresh storylines. They can intertwine at times, and it will just completely change the dynamic. Maybe they're competing a little bit. Maybe Spencer can find a wife or a girlfriend in the B team. Having new characters means they can change the tone of the current BAU. So currently they're all friends and all of that, but the new characters, and a lot of new characters, means that maybe it can break up. Maybe they're no longer friends, they're enemies, they're lovers, they're haters, they're competitors, and that will just bring a new spice, a different element to the BAU. So I was talking on the previous video that a lot of other shows are a lot more successful. Not more successful, because obviously Criminal Minds ran for 15 years. It is successful, period. But we'll be able to continue for more seasons because a lot of these other shows have successfully intertwined the personal lives of the main characters into the actual work. You know, something like Chicago PD and Grey's Anatomy are able to run so long because the subplots are just as interesting as the main storylines. By giving the main characters backstories and subplots, it just makes them more interesting. It makes the audience fall in love with them, hate them, whatever. It just gives you more. And also that way, when the favourite characters leave the show for whatever reason, you can fill their place quite easily because the newer character will obviously have another backstory and hopefully better subplots. And in my opinion, this is what makes Chicago Med and Grey's Anatomy better shows, because the characters are built up and there's actual character building. When these characters decide to leave, although we are left with a dent, the new characters that come in to replace their spot are just as interesting. They were not able to get a character to replace Hotch and Morgan after they left, and that left a big dent in the show. Another thing they need to do is they need to get rid of the procedural structure of the show. They need to get rid of it. It is boring because the structure remained the same. The same things were happening each week. No matter how interesting these serial killers were and what they do were quite interesting, we know that by the end of the episode, Garcia would find out, you know, that little information which narrows down the killer. They would rush off just in time to save the person, or they're a few minutes late and the person's dead. And it became boring after 15 seasons. So to make it more interesting, they need better character development, they need better subplots, and they need a different structure for the show. Now, I know they tried to make Criminal Minds to be somewhat like reality, with, you know, how the workplace actually is. But in my opinion, they did quite a bad job of that, because in reality, workplaces are messy, you know. There are relationships, there are people that hate each other. And shows like Chicago Med, even though I think Chicago Med is extremely exaggerated because they are all terrible at their jobs. Everyone at Chicago Med will probably be fired by now. But, you know, in a show like Chicago Med, they bring in the real life drama. I'm sure in our real lives, you know, at our actual workplaces, there's drama, you know. People don't like each other, you know. We come from different places, different houses. Chances are there are people in a workplace that won't like each other and don't get on well. You know, crazy stuff. People fall in love at the workplace. Just imagine, you know, the different stories I'm sure you have, about what goes on at your Christmas party. These are sort of things that they need to include in the Criminal Minds reboot to just make it better. Just imagine if an episode had this included. So Garcia and Alves are now been dating in secret for a while, and Alves stayed behind on a case rather than going out because he injured his leg, and he's still on the case, but he is in the Quantico offices. Him and Garcia get into an argument about something. They're arguing. The rest of the team are in a different city working on the case, trying to get in contact with Garcia because they need information to save a person urgently, but Garcia and Alves are arguing in a different room. They miss this time slot and they miss the serial killer. Now the serial killer's victim is now dead. Garcia and Alves were obviously arguing and missed an important phone call. A storyline like that will keep us on our toes because obviously they've done wrong. They're going to have to speak about what they were doing during the time that they needed to answer their phone and they needed information. They're obviously going to lie, and obviously with most lies, at some point they're going to come back up, and that is a good subplot to just keep the story going and to keep it fresh and interesting. They obviously have to cover their ass and explain what they were doing when they should have been working, and obviously they will lie, and now there's this big secret. And obviously on TV all big secrets get revealed in some dramatic way, and that for me will be extremely interesting. Now imagine another storyline that they can do, you know, based on the characters rather than just the killers. Imagine if Reed and Tara, or Reed and someone from Group B, were in a secret relationship. So now obviously we know that they spend up to like a few weeks in these towns where they're investigating the murders. Imagine if every night they go to each other's hotel rooms and they are found or spotted by another member who is jealous and wants to get, I don't know, somebody else's job. And so now they're being blackmailed by this team member who wants to move up in the ranks, and that will create tension with this group and with everybody else because obviously they're being blackmailed, which would lead to the obvious showdown in the finale. And then obviously season 17 or 18, whatever, will then pick up with this drama. So I just want it to be salacious, clearly. I just want the buddiness to stop. Well, I don't want it to stop completely, but for me, the salacious storylines, the cheating, the lying, the drama is what keeps me going back to certain TV shows. And while Criminal Minds, I was going to say did have that, but to my recollection, they didn't really have those sort of storylines. Most storylines to do with the BAU and the actual team were quite nice, and oh, they're getting married again. Oh, I like Reed, but I can't do nothing because I'm married. Or Reed taking drugs, but then he stopped. There's no actual punching storyline that I can think of in my head right now, and I rewatched the show just finished last week, that I can think of that is quite gripping. The gripping storylines came with the serial killers, but then it was inevitable that the serial killers will be caught, either going to prison or they get killed in the capture. And once the serial killers are done and dead, they have to then create a new story with another serial killer, and we know those are how it's going to go. They get caught, they die, they get caught, they die. So to make it interesting and to make us interested in it every week and even re-watch it, I think they need to invest more time in the interpersonal relationships with the BAU and expand it, make it salacious, make it dirty, make it wholesome. Just do that, and that way more people are invested in the storyline. Thank you for watching the continuation of What to Do Next Criminal Minds. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I will see you on the next one. Please like, comment and subscribe, and have a great day. Bye.